All right, so if we're looking at the equations and being able to figure out values, we need to remember our basic forms for direct and inverse. So the basic direct form is y equals kx. So it says that x and y vary directly and y is 21. So 21 equals k times the matching x is 3. Find y when x is 4. So we need to first start off by finding our k, writing our equation, and then we can use that new equation to plug in our new value for x. And we could do the same thing if it was asking for a new value for y. So our first step is we divide by 3 on both sides. 21 divided by 3 would give us 7. So this is important. We're going to hold on to that to plug it back into this equation. So y equals k, x is the equation that we're using to plug in our new x or y value depending on what our problem tells us. So find y when x is 4. Y equals 7 times 4. Your value would be 28. If we're looking at inverse, we have two different inverse situations here. We have the standard inverse, and then we have an inverse with a square, and I'll show you how to do both of those. So P and Q, and you can replace this for y and x if you want to. You can leave them as P and Q, either is fine. P is 15 when Q is 17, so remember that your basic form for this is x times y equals k, which is the slightly easier one to work with when we're doing this setup. So basically, if we take our two variables and multiply them together, it should equal the same number every time. So 15 times 17 gives us our k. If we're going to figure out what our k is, we need to type that in the calculator. So 15 times 17 gives us 255 equals our k. Again, we're going to save that and plug it back into our equation. So then xy equals 255. Our new, apparently I called my q as my x. So determine x when that is equal to 51. To get x by itself, I would divide by 51 here. 255 divided by 51 gives us 5, which would be your final answer. So we found our k, we wrote our equation, and then we solved through for a new variable. If we have a square in this process, it's a fairly similar setup. We just have to remember to put our square as part of our equation. I'm going to show you how to use P and Q here. Again, it's not any different, but in terms of not getting confused with what's x and what's y, we're using that format. So P is inversely proportional to the square of Q, like this. This is the basic form we're starting with. So P is 21, Q is 12. We make sure that we square that, and that equals our k. So we get a very large k here, and that's fine. We're working with big numbers anyway, then we're squaring them. They're going to be large. So we have our k. If I'm plugging back into this, there's my equation. Determine P when Q is equal to 6. So P times 6 squared equals 3024. 6 squared is 36. And then to get P by itself, I would divide on both sides. And my P would be 84. So this one might ask you for P or Q. Just solve through from there. If you end up needing to get rid of a square, we square root. So if you're finding Q and you have to square in the process, we would square root.